because I just wanted to discuss. I said, hey, so you cited this ayah, but the ayah right after that, and the one after that, and the one after that, and the one after that are going exactly against what you just concluded.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, no, we need a senior brother to correct your misunderstanding.
No, okay.
Like, so it's like, so that I kept falling into that kind of issue, right? So then I realized that I need to take the best of, and the thing is, I didn't just see criticism. I see benefit in different groups and what they were doing. I saw a lot of benefit in each of them, but I saw this fundamental intellectual sort of gap, and that was that the Book of Allah wasn't getting what it deserved. It felt to me like that. Because that first experience, the Book of Allah was at the center, right? And then it was having an impact of a certain kind. And now it wasn't there, you know? And it wasn't even, I'll say frankly, it didn't feel to me intellectually convincing enough. It wasn't satiating enough. Because I'm not coming from, hey, I just want to be a better Muslim. No, I want to believe in something wholeheartedly, almost like I'm accepting it all like anew, right? And that centrality of the Quran.
Would you say that the spirituality started to fade away?
Yeah.
The spiritual side.
Yeah.
Felt a little bit of
absolutely
coldness or cloudy. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's something that I think.
And would that, because mashallah, you've studied the Quran very well, would that go in line with the ayah, وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا فَتَفْشَلُوا وَتَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ, or is it something else, do you think?
I think it's كُلُّ حِزْبٍ بِمَا لَدَيْهِمْ فَرِحُونَ. It's every group is really happy with what they have.
Okay.
Right, that's what it was more about preserving the identity of a group and of a certain way of thinking than it was about serving, you know, the like Allah. Even though the intention is to serve Allah, but the way to serve Allah is to preserve our, you know, clique. And then some of that became really ugly because then I would see how they speak of each other. And I was like, here's a book that's saying, أَذِلَّةٍ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, they're so humble and powerless before the believers, that they have this brotherhood between them, love between them. And then you go to these different groups and they're like really spiteful and cynical and mocking of the other. And I don't see how we can believe this book and have this attitude. I can't reconcile it, you know? So, but alhamdulillah, along the way I met some
How did you solve that for yourself?
I kept an arm's length distance from too much affiliation. I mean, I benefited from a lot of different people, but I kept focused on my journey. I said, you know what? Here's another perspective. A lot of people were learning Islam, but they were learning what makes the other person wrong. Like that's what the curriculum mostly entailed. Here are the evidences for why we're saying the right thing and why they're saying the wrong thing. So it's actually a reactive kind of curriculum.
So as soon as you learned that lingo, you learned that language, you learned that approach, so as soon as you could hear someone take that approach, you thought, okay, I better
you know what?
move? Or?
So you're teaching me why this and this is wrong, but I actually want to learn what Allah says. Not what they're saying wrong and what's actually the truth. I just want to, instead of correcting some wrong, I just want to learn the right with no regard for who's wrong, right? And it's a proactive learning, not a reactive learning. And that was, it was really hard to find. It was really hard to find proactive learning. And that's when I decided to commit more and more to, you know what, I'll keep learning from all these places, but I'm going to fundamentally focus on my proactive learning of Allah's words themselves. I just really want to know what He's saying and continue to grow in that without passing judgment on anybody else. But whoever can help me with this, wherever I can get that help, I'll get it, I'll take it. You know?
The fundamentals are always there. There's no disagreement on the fundamentals of our deen, alhamdulillah. You're talking about the branches now. And that supports, there's the hadith of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'll just say it in English so that we're English speakers. So the best types of actions to Allah are the ones that are more consistent, even if they're small in number.
If they're small in number,
so small quantity rather than a lot.
Right.
You want to follow everything, you might go lost. So even if you have just a few things that are fundamental and strong, and especially the ones that are spiritual and there's no disagreement on them, and you follow them and make and perfect them, inshallah, is better than having too much and branching off too much, because
and then, you know, the other thing is, I can learn and continue to learn. Even you said I've studied a lot of Quran. I feel like I'm just starting with Quran studies. I'm so intimidated by the study of the Quran. More now than ever before. Let's come back now, because before we get too complicated in the area. Let's come back to the Quran, Ustaz Nouman.
Okay. So you're saying that the more you study the Quran, to a lot of people, they aspire to be at the level that you're at. And they say, MashaAllah, and they listen to him at that level. He knows, and yet you're telling us, what are you telling us? You're telling us you feel like you're in a deep ocean. You just don't know where you are still.
I know some things I know about the Quran. I know many things that I'm yet to. I mean, I know them at a very surface level, and I know I need a lot of work. Like I'm okay with saying that. I'm never going to claim that I'm any kind of scholar or of the Quran, but I can say I'm a serious student. I can say that I am a serious student of the Quran, and whatever I do seriously study, I try to share. But there are tons of areas of Quranic studies, and just the Book of Allah, and then by extension of the Seerah and of the Sharia, everything that connects to Allah's book, right? I approach it in a way that I'm not going to make any preconceived notions or assumptions that I understand it or I get it already. I'm going to come to it clean slate, assuming I know nothing, and bring all of my questions to Allah's door about this ayah, and bring all of my questions to Allah's door about this surah, and about this hadith. Like, I just need to know. Ya Allah, here's what I don't understand.
Do you mean you sit down and make dua to Allah?
I make dua and I document my questions.
Tell us, Ustaz Nouman. For the common person, how do you advise them to approach the Quran then? Because a lot of people don't know Arabic that well, right?
Yeah.
Of course, we have different commentaries, interpretations of the meanings.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, Al-Mawdudi is one of the top 5 for me in the English world. Maybe you differ on that, but...
he's brilliant.
Yeah, so you agree with me, don't you?
Yeah,
amazing, Al-Mawdudi. But how would you advise the common people to approach the Quran? You know their level, you've been around, you understand the society and the community. Not all of them are Arabs and speaking Arabic.
Yeah.
What little pieces of advice you can give us to say, okay, when you come to approach the Quran, do you advise us to read it every day, even if we don't understand it? Do you advise us to learn the Arabic, even if we struggle with it? Do you advise us to read literally a little bit of commentary, even if it's a small surah or a small ayah every day? How should we approach the Quran?
I think the approach that helped me, I have a hard time recommending another approach, because I tried the other approaches. I tried reading translation. I didn't connect. And some people might. I'm not saying my experience has to be imposed on everybody else, but I know that after speaking to enough people, the challenge with translation is understanding how the argument of the Quran is flowing, why is it repeating itself, why are the surahs in the order that they're in. There are too many literature-related questions that a standard book you wouldn't have those questions, but you will absolutely have them with the Quran, and the translation will leave you kind of wanting. And then the commentaries that are available, short of Abu al-Madudi's Tafhim al-Quran and Towards Understanding the Quran in English, which I think is brilliant, the commentaries are also so focused on the ayah and its meaning and its interpretation and opinions around that ayah that you lose sight of you're reading something that continuously flows. Because it's like when you're looking at an orchard and you're looking at a flower really zoomed in, you lose sight of the fact that this is part of a garden. So my recommendation is to actually, it's not for the individual, but it's actually for the communities and the imams and the du'at in the world.
Right.
And my recommendation for them is every Ramadan they should be doing a dawrah of the Quran, even if it's just Baqarah and just Al Imran or just Nisa, but just a brief translation and explanation for their community. Every Ramadan, the community got a little more of the Quran that they got to understand.
Okay.
Right? And then what that would do, I think, is what that did for me at some level.
So encouraging the community to basically to attach themselves to the community, to go to the
and
masjid.
I think the ideal time to do that is Ramadan.
Because that's where you're going to get it from. And every day, read as much as you can.
Read as much as you can. I think reciting the Quran connects the hearts to the Quran. Memorizing it connects the hearts to the Quran. No. It's one of its fundamental rights, whether you understand it or not.
Not all of us understand everything in the Quran. But one word sometimes can stick, and at a time when you need it in your life,
Yeah.
it comes to help you.
Yeah.